Welcome to another edition of Pants Optional, a special indie publisher spotlight that we're featuring. And my guest today is a comic book illustrator, live performance artist. He's an advertiser. He's done toy design. He's worked with fine art, music production, just a jack of all trades, very artistic individual. He's also worked with a number of publishers within the comic book industry, including Marvel Comics, Aspen, Action Lab Entertainment. Plus, he is the publisher of the company we're spotlighting today. He's the publisher of Starburns Industries Press, or SBI Press. Please welcome California's own Michael Calero. Michael, welcome to the show.
Yeah, good. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you.
I'm wearing pants, even though it's optional. I felt it was
you know what?
To wear pants.
I like to just kind of leave that open to the viewer to decide what's going on. Yeah, because we're here to get the lowdown, but from the waist up. So anything, your business.
Get back on.
So hey, how's the weather out where you are? I know it's been really hot out here lately.
I don't even know anymore, man. I don't leave the house. It could be hot. It could be cold. No, we got through like a little heat wave, and I'm sure you felt it too. And then that was like compounded with a bunch of smoke from the fires that were going on. Right. So it was just generally 2020 apocalyptic up here.
Yeah. Keep looking for that light at the end of the tunnel, and
I don't know, man. I think it's like, to me, it's like we're just being eased into the apocalypse, right? Like we're getting eased into that Mad Max lifestyle, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, we're seeing a little dystopian future slowly unraveling, and how to handle pandemic-like situations. And yeah, it's just a matter of time before zombies.
Yeah, we're working our way up. We're not far now. There's a lot of things that I just didn't think I'd be doing as an adult. When you grow up, you're like, I'm going to follow my dreams and whatnot. You don't think I'm going to be buying like cans of Spam and stockpiling, things of water in case.
Yeah, kind of reminds you of all those things, like those videos you watch in elementary school where they had bomb shelters and all that stuff planned, and underground bunkers, and like, it's crazy. Well, it's coming back around.
Yeah, anybody who is on the the preppers shows that were on TV, like all of those people are so validated right now. Like they just have to be just feeling so smug with their like swimming pools that have water filtration systems attached to them, and their crazy amount of hand sanitizer they've probably stockpiled.
Who's the fool now?
Right? I'm feeling like I'm the fool.
We should have listened. Yeah,
we should.
Well, hey, let's talk about the company you work with, Starburns Industries Press. SBI Press is the publishing arm of Starburns Industry. It's a Burbank-based animation studio from founder Dan Harmon of Rick and Morty fame. But Starburns Industries Press, tell us a little bit about your publishing company and the type of stuff you put out, and your kind of role within that company as publisher.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely more of like a boutique publisher. We're putting out just, to me, very unique and quirky books that one of the things we love are like the creators we work with. Some of them are already have established careers as writers, and then there's other folks that are just kind of coming into the industry. So there's no like, this is only for folks that are Hollywood writers, or this is only for folks that are just getting their start. It's a really cool range of talent that we have. And so with that, we end up publishing a lot of books that you just wouldn't normally see at somewhere like a Marvel or DC. We have a very it feels like indie publishing, or like kind of like old school indie publishing, but also really beautiful books as well. We have a book called The Crawling King, which if you were to see it, it just wows you immediately when you look at it. The cover, everything about it, the artwork is beautiful. And so it's like we have this really cool spectrum of stuff we publish, all the way down to, not down, I shouldn't say down, all the way to, we have cassette clubs where we have, tapes that we produce in-house, just really fun stuff. It's just all really fun content. And so my role within that, I'm more on the comic book side. And there's a few of us that kind of shepherd this thing forward. For me, my emphasis is on finding new books that I think kind of fit the DNA of Starburns. Has a little bit of is a little bit strange, a little bit funny, a little bit sad, and figure out how we're going to get those things to fans. Like, how are we going to present this to folks?
Right. And you've also gone crowdfunding for a couple reasons. One, for people that may not have been aware, that you guys put a Kickstarter campaign for Patton Oswalt's Comics anthology.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe he also worked on your free comic book day offering, didn't he?
Yeah, that was part of that one as well.
Thing is, in a couple of days here, there's another Kickstarter campaign being run by SBI Press for Rafael Garcia, Henchman, which is being tagged as a workplace action comedy about an easygoing henchman attempting to take control of his life and survive corporate supervillainy. What appealed to you about not only, let's go back a little bit to Patton Oswalt's anthology, and then jumping ahead to next week in bringing on David Schrader and his creative team for his new project?
Yeah, I mean, I think the comics one, and that was a little bit before my time as publisher. But that one, I think what was, really the mindset there was to reach Patton Oswalt fans and reach fans that weren't maybe comic book fans necessarily, and wouldn't just be strolling into a comic book shop. I think that was probably the where that conversation started with our new kind of direction that we're going. Is actually started out as a kind of a necessity thing as far as with COVID. We had a plan for this year of how we were going to release our books, and a big part of that was to do conventions. We were planning on doing a lot of shows and going to all these cities and trying to reach out to new fans. And, when we saw that just wasn't going to happen, at least not this year, we had to pivot a bit. And at the same time, comic book shops were closing down at that point. So we were looking at, how do we still get these books out to fans? How do we reach new people to discover this stuff? And it just kind of made sense for it to be Kickstarter. It's a platform that people are familiar with. I mean, we're treating it more of a pre-order than a necessarily like a traditional crowdfunding. Like, for instance, the Rafael Garcia book is already complete. It's ready to go to print. And so for us, this is a way to reach out all those fans to order the book, and hopefully through the crowdfunding be able to produce more of it as part of that. So, if we end up having a hit on our hands where we overfund, we're putting that money directly back into doing trade paperbacks and other things associated with the book.
Kickstarter would definitely make for a good gauge on public interest. And like you said, with the lack of conventions now, one thing that's also nice about crowdfunding is that fan interaction and engagement that you do have through comments and updates and things like that. And the social media shares upon pledging. Not only have you gone that route, but one of the other things with the COVID, which I was really impressed with, if you go to Starburns Industries Press's website at either SBI Press, which will redirect you to starburnsindustrypress.com, you can check out a bunch of their titles with the free digital first library. I downloaded 6 of them. I read them all this morning.
Awesome.
I read Oddwell. It's a fantasy adventure with a healthy dose of humor in there. B Squad looked like a lot of potential there with this fun band of misfits. You only get that first issue, but it give you just a taste. Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. It gives give a really good look at inside and outside of the ring. and just kind of an interesting dynamic too with this,
Uh, that
just
book's one
kind
of
of
my
how
favorites.
issue one ended. I'm sorry.
That book's one of my favorites, the WrestleTopia book.
Yeah,
I have a really a soft spot for that one. I
that
enjoy
looks
it.
like a lot of fun.
Growing up a wrestling fan and being a comic book fan, it's kind of like the perfect little marriage.
Definitely, definitely. I felt it. Hellacious looked like
Yeah.
some evil fun. Kind of had little moments where it reminded me of like some Scotty Young kind of art with throughout. That was a really
Yeah,
really
Kit's
interesting.
artwork is amazing. I'm a big fan
Great stuff.
of his artwork. You know, I work with him on a book that's coming out this coming year, and one of the things with his art that I just absolutely love is he just captures he does a really good job of capturing things in the script that could easily be looked over. Just like little moments that he draws and little like facial expressions. It's like, oh, he gets it.
Okay.
And so yeah, I became a big fan of his through Halicious, and that book is just gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I was impressed by that. The book that really got me was Long Ago and Far Away.
Awesome.
I fell in love with that. I've already went and got the other 7 issues on Comixology.
Nice.
I'm going to be reading the rest of those tonight. That sounds great. Do you have any plans on moving any of these digital comics into trades? Or I think some of them are available on your online store, but I didn't see one for Long Ago and Far and Away because I would have snapped that right up.
So yeah, so I mean, there's a couple things that we have going on. So we have some of the books already in trade, like Malicious is one of them. We just released volume 2 of that.
Volume 2, yeah.
Yeah, so that was our last. That was the last trade paperback that we put out. And we have Oddwell in trade. Some of those are the original Starburns Press books we have in trade.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the more recent ones that we went like a digital first route with, Griffin, like you said, Long Ago and Far Away is one that we plan on re-releasing as a trade, with some updated content. Then WrestleTopia is going to be one of the next books that we do a Kickstarter for a trade paperback version of that.
Oh, nice.
And what we want to do with because for instance, that book, we had a few issues that were released as physical copies, and then we went to a digital release of the remaining ones. Okay. And so we want to give fans who have read it already some new content. We want to give fans who are maybe just discovering it for the first time something where they could just get the whole story, right, rather than having to go back and find a bunch of issues or whatnot. So you will have a chance to have a physical copy of Long Ago and Far Away.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I'll be definitely looking out for that. So yeah, so definitely go and check out their website, sbipress.com. If you're new to SBI Press, there's a great chance for you to see the different content that they have for free. Find out what you like, and jump on in. And there's some great content. And though there are a number of genres in your titles, there's sci-fi and action and fantasy and adventure and whatnot. One thing did stand out to me as kind of a common denominator among all your titles was that it felt as if the creators were having fun. Getting to be a little cheeky at times, but there seemed to be like an underlying just a little dashes of humor interspersed throughout pretty much every title, and that was kind of something that I noticed. Is that something that you seek out in any new titles you pick up, or is something you encourage of your creators? Is that kind of something that SBI Press stands upon?
I would think so. I mean, like I said earlier, like one thing that our titles have in common is they're fun. Like they're. And I think a part of that comes from not necessarily taking the genres so serious that everything is, a cliffhanger life or death situation. There's more storytelling that can be done than that. And so I think a lot of our creators explore that. How do we take a story that maybe if it was at a traditional like action publisher would be very serious, very, straightforward. And like, how do we take that in different directions that lend itself to folks who want to chuckle a little bit when they're reading a story? I mean, the best way I kind of, what you described to me is like when watching like the Marvel movies, right? Like in the Marvel movies, you always have those moments that make you laugh a little bit. And those, to me, that's to me what makes those things really connect with people. So I think our titles, all the creators have a little bit of a comedian in them somewhere.
Okay. Well, it definitely comes out on the pages. I did notice it, and you start to get a taste for the creator's sense of humor by the way that, maybe it's a little sarcastic dig or whatnot. But yeah, it's great stuff. Is SBI Press currently open to taking submissions for new projects? Or are you currently scouting right now?
Yeah, we are. I mean, the way we're doing it, we took a little break from really kind of searching for new stuff. We had a lot of the digital titles that we wanted to get physical copies of, like we discussed earlier, and we were also trying to change, the direction of how we distributed. And we're still distributing the comic book stores through Diamond. And so now what we're doing is looking like, okay, well, these are the books that we want to get funded through Kickstarters to get out to fans directly. These are the books that we want to distribute to comic book stores solely. And with that, there is a lot of room for new voices to come on board. So, we're always open to submissions. We tend to, like we talked about earlier, we tend to gravitate towards a certain type of voice, something that kind of has that Starburns DNA to it.
Right.
But we're not, only taking books that have a humor aspect to it, so we're definitely open to that.
Okay. So
and I know there's a lot of, from being in comics for a long time, and specifically as an artist, I'm constantly seeing just amazing work being put out by creators, especially now that it's a little easier to do it yourself. And so there are definitely people that we kind of are looking to work with, that we're always looking for new talent that we think would fit the brand.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, there's definitely a lot of talent out there, and
Yeah.
especially in the indie pool. That yeah, definitely, if they can jump on board and get their stuff showcased with SBI Press. So hey, and wrapping things up here, if you could
Yeah.
give one pitch to someone new to SBI Press or to your comics, what would you say to someone to encourage them to jump aboard the SBI Press Express?
One thing that we kind of are like an internal mission statement, so to speak, for us is, like Starburns as an animation studio has had success with stuff like Rick and Morty and some of the other projects. And for us, it's like, that's great that those things have had success, right? But
Sure.
what's the next thing? What's the next thing that is going to grab fans and really speak to people? And so these books are the first step in that. It's like, before it's a animated series, or before it's anything else, it's going to be this comic
Right.
that you can fall in love with. So some of our original titles are in that pipeline of getting to be animation. And so all those fans who jumped onto the comic books will get to see that progression. And every book that we put out, we have that in mind of like, we don't want this to just stop at a comic book, right? Like we want this to keep going. And, so a lot of our titles have that in mind of this can be something that has its own unique fan base. And like you said, with our free digital first that we were doing for COVID, it's a great chance to test out the waters and see what book speaks to you. And some might not speak to some books. Like there might be books that are like, I'm not into that, but I love WrestleTopia, or I love Delicious. And so, what we're doing is trying to find a lot of unique voices in comic book creation. And with this new book, there's some really cool things, Rafael Garcia, that we're really excited about. One of the major things is that it's actually going to be our first bilingual title. And so with
Okay.
that, you know, when backing the Kickstarter, you'll have the option to have it in Spanish or English. And so there's a, you know, a whole lot of fans who, you know, are only speak Spanish or Spanish is their first language that normally wouldn't get access to some smaller press books. There's, you know,
Right.
just realistically, there's just not a lot of bilingual small press. And so something like that, to us is huge to be able to take that step and say, okay, well, here's something for these fans who maybe are underserved by, you know, by presses right now.
Sure, sure. Definitely, definitely an inclusive, definitely needed within the comic book industry. There's fans
Yeah.
of all kinds all around the world, and you know, let's bring them together. Let's share something special with the artistic and talented
Yeah,
people
we're
that are.
hoping so, man. We're hoping this book is the first of many like titles that we put out in different languages. So
Well, let's hope so, Michael. You got some great stuff. Excited for the future for SBI Press. Everyone, thank you for having Michael Calero with me. Thank you. I appreciate it. And everyone go check out SBIPress.com, StarburnsIndustriesPress.com, and look for Rafael Garcia Henchman coming to Kickstarter. Thanks again, Michael, and have yourself a great
thanks
rest of
for
your
having
weekend.
me on. It was good to get to chat with you. I miss
Definitely,
seeing you at
definitely.
shows.
You see at all these conventions, and now it's like,
I know.
you know.
Well,
But
hopefully sooner than later we'll all see
I
each
hope
other
so.
in
I hope
person
so.
again.
In you know, in some fashion, yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, thank you, Michael.
All right, have a good one, man.